ICP understanding solves 99% of your marketing problems, including differentiation. Most B2B teams just scratch the surface with outdated personas and miss the real insights that drive action. When you truly understand your audience, their pain points, their priorities, and what keeps them up at night, you unlock messaging that resonates, content that converts, and positioning your competitors cannot copy. That's a quote from Tom Shapiro and a sneak peek at today's episode. Hi there, I'm Kerry Curran, revenue strategist and host of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. Each week, I bring you sharp insights and expert strategies to turn marketing into a true growth engine. If you're focused on results, follow the show and leave a quick rating or review to help more marketers discover the boost they need. B2B buyers have changed, but too many marketing strategies haven't. In The New Rules of B2B Marketing, How to Win with Differentiation and Value, Not Volume, I sat down with Tom Shapiro. He's the CEO of Stratabeat and author of Rethink Lead Generation. Tom and I unpack why the traditional playbook of high-volume tactics no longer work and what top-performing brands are doing instead. In this episode, you'll learn why meaningful differentiation is your most underused growth lever, how deeper ICP research can solve 99% of your marketing challenges, and the real role of SEO today, and how to align your content, website, and outreach to deliver real value, not noise. Be sure to stay tuned to the end, where Tom shares how to improve your B2B marketing today without spending any more money. So if you're ready to stand out in a sea of sameness and drive smarter growth, this episode is for you. Let's go. So welcome, Tom. Please introduce yourself and share your background and expertise.
Sure. Thanks, Kerry. Great to be here. So I'm Tom Shapiro. I'm the CEO and founder of Stratabeat, which is an organic growth agency for B2B technology and SaaS companies. And we provide SEO services, content strategy, content development, content marketing, web design, and conversion optimization services. I have been in marketing forever, since 1994, so several years before Google even existed. And I've written several books along the way. I have one here, my latest. Nice. Rethink Lead Generation. Just talking about all the most effective ways to generate leads if you want max results.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. So this is your second time on, so we're excited to have you here. You always share so many great actionable recommendations. So very excited to dive in. So I know in your role, you are often having conversations with CMOs, especially B2B and SaaS CMOs. Like, what are they saying today? What are you hearing from them as their themes or kind of challenges they're facing?
Yeah, so hearing a variety of things, but one common theme is that what they were doing years ago is not working anymore. In other words, the old B2B marketing playbook is not as effective. Yeah. They're wondering, okay, well, what do we have to do now? How do we need to pivot in order to be successful? And it's interesting because what we find is there are things that are highly, highly effective today that a lot of companies might not be leaning into. And then we can talk about an underlying factor that changes everything. And a lot of companies are not doing it. So some things that are very effective that a lot of companies are not doing is, for example, original research, but not just doing a one-off, doing it repeatedly and owning the space, right? Mm-hmm. You could have a quarterly report, you could have an annual report, whatever it is, but turn it into something that's a series, something that's systematic, so you own that space. Your competitors can't enter in that topical area. And think about it, like, that provides unique value. Mm-hmm. And what works today is really understanding your ICP and providing overwhelming value, right? It's not about gaming the system. It's not about this tactic or that tactic. It's about really understanding your audience and delivering value.
Yeah.
Another thing that a lot of companies are not doing yet, if they did, I think that they would feel like marketing is working highly effectively today. And that's website visitor identification and then conducting outreach accordingly. So for instance, if you see that your ICP is on your website, you can see exactly what topics they're interested in, what products they're interested in, what solutions they're interested in, conduct outreach right away. It does need to happen within 24 hours or by the next business day. So it is something that you would want to create a daily program around. But that type of a hyper personalized approach is incredibly powerful today, and it's very effective today. And so this whole notion that the old B2B marketing playbook is dead, well, it could be that you're just not focusing on really understanding your audience and really overwhelming them with personalized value.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what we've seen, going back to the overarching challenges of B2B buyers. It's a different landscape. Like, as you were saying, the way you were marketing or acquiring customers in the past isn't working any longer. I think so much of that is just the shift, especially in the SaaS space, where, for 10 years, 2010 to 2022, it was rapid growth phase where there's a huge influx of investment. So you could just keep spending to acquire your customers. That changed 2022 and continues to evolve. At the same time, the buying behavior has continued to evolve. So to your point, like, it's what I've seen is the previous strategies that were much more tactic focused or tech stack focused or sales, like let's just hire more BDRs, it isn't working anymore. You can just send more massive email campaigns to acquire customers. And so to your point, it's harder, it takes longer, and you need to really invest in differentiation, because it truly, as you and I were talking about, in addition to all of that, there's the influx of new companies. Everyone's doing B2B SaaS. It's very easy to create, not easy because I personally couldn't do it, but for people that understand coding and tech stacks, you can create a B2B SaaS company relatively easily, which means the marketplace is flooded and it is a true sea of sameness of companies that do a lot of the same thing or don't or do everything. So going back to kind of strategies and understanding, I think with that, like, how do you see companies really tuning into their differentiation, and how do they really help stand out in that sea of sameness?
Yeah, and I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So many markets now are completely oversaturated. And see a sameness, as you mentioned, everywhere. And just to kind of validate your point, we were working with an enterprise software company, about $200 million a year in sales, and about 6 members of the marketing team were on our weekly calls. And we were having a hell of a time trying to figure out their differentiation. And we scoured everything that they were sending us and, kept asking them, and we were looking at their website. We brought up the website during a call. We have 6 of their marketing team members on the call, and we say, look, we're looking through your website. We're not seeing any differentiation articulated in your entire site. And so we asked them point blank, we said, right here, right now, articulate your differentiation.
Yeah.
And there was silence. There was a pause. And then maybe like 10 seconds later, one person spoke up and said, well, we're the oldest in the space. We've been here longer.
Yeah.
Like that provides zero value to the audience, right? The customer doesn't care if you've been around a while.
Yeah.
They really got well, how does that help them accomplish more? How does that help them save money? How does that help them do anything? Nothing. It was so irrelevant. It was shocking.
Well, in the days of like the evolving tech too, I actually think that could be seen as a detraction, right? Oh, you've been along, so you're the oldest, so you haven't innovated, you have nothing new.
Right. You're the legacy player. Yeah, if you're not innovating. Yeah. So we definitely see exactly what you're saying. Whereas the sea of sameness, companies having a very difficult time differentiating themselves or articulating any type of differentiation, and it's killing them. It's killing them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you might ask, okay, well, how can you discover deeper differentiation?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I love to say is that deeper ICP understanding solves 99% of your marketing problems, right?
Yep.
Including your differentiation.
Yep.
If you understand your audience, you understand their pain points, you understand their challenges and frustrations and what gives them that belly ache on Sunday evenings. Right? That then you can tap into really effective differentiation that really resonates with them.
Yep. And it's not, as you and I were talking previously, it's just having AI, key point, having AI is not a differentiator as well, either. It's whether if you're if you're going to say you're the oldest or you have AI, you need to follow up with how that benefits your target audience. Previously I worked for the largest media buyer in the world, and we used to say that. And finally, the analyst at Forrester was like, unless you follow that up with how that benefits your customers, don't say it, right? And so Same thing with those examples.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So talk about ICP research and kind of how do brands get that deep understanding?
Yeah. So it's interesting because a lot of marketing teams are not even scratching the surface with ICP research. What they're doing is they kind of have a persona, kind of. Mm-hmm. It's on a server somewhere. Yep. They wrote it 2 years ago, right? Yep. And when you ask very pointed questions, they have a difficult time understanding what the real pain points are. They understand with broad strokes who their audience is. But once you start getting into the nitty-gritty details of their pain points, that's when things start to break down. Yep. And so what we love to do is when we start a new engagement with a client, we always ask to talk with a number of their actual customers. And it's interesting because oftentimes they're shocked that we're asking to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked in turn that there are so many marketing teams that don't do this on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They should be doing it on a monthly basis. And that is very, very rare in terms of what we see. And so talk with the end customer, but then also talk to the salespeople. It's so important to have a really tight relationship with the salespeople. And it's not just a one-time thing where, you talk to them once a year or, once when you remember randomly, right? It should be a regular meeting, whether it's monthly or quarterly, but you want to get the salespeople's insights because they're the ones hearing firsthand exactly what's on the mind of prospects, right? Then you should also be listening in on sales call recordings. So we had a new client. We listened to 20 hours worth of sales calls, right? 20 hours. And I can guarantee you that the marketing team did not.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, there are things that are very low-hanging fruit. It's right in front of you that a lot of marketing teams are not doing. Also, how many sales decks do you review? How often do you look at the sales decks and review them? How many times do you ask the salespeople how the prospects reacted to those sales decks, right?
Yeah.
It's all right in front of you. And then, of course, there's SEO data, there's online content data, there's social listening, lots of other types of audience research that you can do. You can do surveys, which are fantastic. You can also be using behavioral analysis on your website so you can see exactly what the behaviors of your ICP are, right? Based on different types of topics, based on how you are constructing your content, things like that.
Hey everyone, it's me, Kerry Curran. If you're a B2B company that sells to marketers, whether you're an agency, MarTech, or AdTech, and your revenue is either flattening, declining, or just not growing fast enough, I can help. I've spent my entire career selling, marketing, and servicing marketers, so I know firsthand the challenges they face, the buying decisions they make, and what actually moves the needle. The truth is, most marketing strategies aren't built for revenue growth, but mine are. As your fractional chief growth officer, I'll bring revenue-focused marketing strategies designed specifically for selling to marketers, deep expertise in agency, MarTech, and AdTech buying behaviors, modern go-to-market strategies that include everything from brand awareness to driving loyalty and retention, and a track record of doubling and even tripling revenue for B2B companies just like yours. So if you're tired of your stagnant results and you're ready to build a marketing engine that actually drives revenue, let's talk. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn to schedule a consultation. Together, let's build a smarter, more profitable path forward. RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, we're revenue-based marketing that works. Yeah, no, and it's so smart, to your point, to really dive into what are the business challenges that your most profitable lifetime value customers, why they stay, what the outcomes are that you're providing for them. And I loved that you mentioned social listening, because that's been a popular strategy and tool in surveys for consumer goods and B2C, D2C companies to get that feedback, and or product reviews that B2B, especially SaaS, they're not using that as frequently. And I saw an example where a B2B company was going through Reddit and found some constructive feedback on about their software they had no idea of. So there's so many ways to get to those examples. And also sometimes it's things, to your point, that you didn't even know about, right? They're like, oh, these guys are great, this company's great because blah, XYZ, or they've saved me time in this way, or even their team is so smart. Like, there's so many nuggets that you can pull from the NPS and social listening or the review sites, exact as well. So I think that's so important. And one other example with a startup, actually, a woman who was running marketing and sales in a startup that I had on a previous episode, because she was doing both, she would take the notes from during the sales calls of the new pain points or challenges that the prospect mentioned, make a note of to then add it to the website. And within a day or two, she was able to build out again. It was a nimble team of one, but she was able to build out on the website that their technology solved that pain point as well. So there's just so many ways, which I think it was great. And the website obviously is such an important factor in this. So talk about, how your perspective on that and how your team really prioritizes that.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you asked. And I'm glad that you mentioned that example of the person who was on your last episode, marrying sales with marketing. So here's a way to marry sales with marketing that's very, very effective for your website specifically.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So look at your CRM data, right? And honestly, there are very, very few marketing teams that are doing this today, but it is so effective. So you want to do a win-loss analysis of your CRM database, right? And you want to do this every month at minimum. For certain clients, we do it every week, right? And what that tells you is why people are buying right now, right? Mm-hmm. And why they're not buying. And then you can look at your website, as you were saying, Kerry, right? Yep. You can look at the website and find gaps in your messaging, find gaps in your content, and then fill those gaps. So sometimes it's augmenting an existing page. Sometimes it's adding new pages. Sometimes it's adding new content in the way of, whether it's a white paper or blog post or whatever it might happen to be, a webinar, right? Yep. But CRM analysis, CRM win-loss analysis is so effective in coming up with new content ideas and coming up with new marketing ideas, in understanding your ICP deeper. Again, going back to that theme. And it really, really strengthens your website.
Yeah, well, because the ultimate goal is that the researcher is on your website, and before they even talk to sales, they're saying, oh, this is the partner that knows me the best, is most experienced, and understands my business challenge, and is trusted to solve that, right? Be getting in that top of mind before they even have a short list of competitors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, Tom, the big question though is SEO dead?
So even though there are a lot of people out there, which it is, they're dead wrong. They're dead wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
and a lot of people are pointing at HubSpot losing around 80% of their blog organic traffic over the past year. But remember that a lot of the traffic that they lost was things like famous people's quotes and Steve Jobs quotes and this person's quotes and these quotes and those quotes.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of it was off topic. A lot of it was off brand. A lot of it was just content for the sake of having content. It had no connection to the ICP.
Right.
There was no overwhelming value to the ICP. There was no value to the ICP.
Mm-hmm.
And so what people missed and what they were not talking about was that the HubSpot website, the core pages, not the blog, but the core pages, organic traffic remained the same. It did not dip at all. And that's a greater indicator that the pages that are speaking to the ICP, right, that did not go down at all. And no one was speaking about that. Mm-hmm. So in our case, in Stratabeat's case, we have more than doubled our organic traffic over the past year. And in Q1, so the past quarter, right, we had a record-breaking quarter for organic leads. We've never had this many leads. And so SEO is very, very much alive, but you have to do it the right way. You have to focus on overwhelming value. Mm-hmm. Don't just write content for the sake of content. Don't just write every top of the funnel topic that you can think of that might be an additional way to have content in your blog. Maybe you have a quota to fill. Don't do quota-based marketing. Right? It's all about overwhelming your ICP with value. And that goes back to original research. Original research can help you not only have a report, but it can feed lots of blog content. It can feed webinar content, podcast content. It can also parlay into a lot of sales conversations. There's just so many different ways that you can use original research in having a content engine, right? And that all plays into a really, really strong SEO program. And so, I have a very different view than everyone in terms of, is SEO dead? I mean, you hear a lot of people pointing at studies saying that, oh my goodness, AI overviews is now across like 80% or 60% of searches, whatever the number might be, but it's always outrageous, right? But those studies are always generic. They're not industry specific. They're not audience specific, right? It's all over the place. Like you're comparing like who's searching for hamburgers near me, right? With CRM systems. It's stupid. It's stupid. And so what you need to do is only look at your data, right? The data that pertains to your ICP. And when we did this, so Stratabeat conducts original research regularly. We're coming out with 4 different original research reports in the first half of this year alone. That's how much we believe in it. In our latest study of B2B SaaS companies, we looked at 300 different companies, right? And we wanted to understand the impact of AI overviews on their SEO performance. And what we found was, on average, across these 300 B2B SaaS companies, on average, AI overviews appeared for their Google top 10 rankings only 18% of the time. It was a little less than 18%, but let's round up to 18%, right? That means 82% of the time, for their most important keywords, the ones that are ranking on Google page 1, there's no AI overviews. There's no competition there, right? It's too niche, right? And so you really have to look at your own data, your ICP data, and understand that from an AI overviews competition perspective. And then you can see, okay, well, these sets of keywords, they do trigger an AI overview. These others do not. And then you can make decisions, strategic decisions, keyword by keyword, topic by topic, as to how you want to approach it, right? In certain cases where you do have AI overviews, diversify your content, diversify how you're getting the word out on those topics. But probably, like what we were looking at, in 82% of the cases, there was no competition. Now, what was also really, really interesting was the top 10% of performers. In other words, the B2B SaaS companies that had increased organic traffic the most over the past year. So looking at January of this year versus January of last year, the ones who increased traffic the most actually had higher AI overviews competition than the rest. right? So they were battling AI overviews more. AI overviews was appearing for more of their keywords than everyone else, yet they were crushing it. And these are companies that were doubling, tripling, and quadrupling their organic traffic this past year. And so for those who say that SEO is dead, they're dead wrong.
No, that's super helpful, and you're spot on there. And the other thing as well is that you have to apply the right KPIs. Someone might not be coming to your website for the very first time and filling out your lead form. It doesn't mean SEO is not driving your revenue and customer acquisition. You just have to, recognize again the buying cycle and the behavior. But I agree with you, and SEO is not going away, and it's as we've all heard, it's expanding. And to your point, you just have to get smarter about how you're providing value to your target audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, Tom, for the people who are listening today and are leaning in and saying, "Oh, I need to do this. I need to get started. I need to be smarter." Like, what's kind of the readiness, or where should people start?
Yeah, so I would say two things. Goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where we were saying, a deeper ICP understanding is going to solve 99% of your marketing problems. I really believe that. And so why not start with understanding your customer, right?
Yeah.
And there's certain things which are very easy to do. They don't cost any money. Other things might take more time, but that's fine. So, are you talking to your salespeople regularly, monthly, right? Quarterly? That's really important. And then also, are you listening to sales call recordings? Most marketing teams that we meet for the first time, they've never done that before, or they might do it randomly. So they might do it like once or twice a year. Do it regularly, do it monthly, right? And that's really important. It doesn't cost you any money to listen to those conversations, but it's very insightful. How often are you doing CRM win-loss analysis? Probably never, right? And so, start doing it. It doesn't cost you any money. Just start doing it. And here's one that will take a little bit more time, but is ultra effective over the long term. And you can start today. Just understand it takes time. Is start talking to your actual customers, right? And this shouldn't be like a one time a year event. This should be something that you're regularly doing.
Yeah.
It's just so obvious, but many marketing teams don't do it. And so I'd say that that's where you really want to start in building up your understanding of your customer and what their pain points are, what their challenges are, what their frustrations are, because it'll solve 99% of your marketing. Now, another thing that is really low-hanging fruit that I would recommend you start tomorrow, right? You can start this afternoon if you wanted, is website visitor identification and then corresponding outreach to those who are showing intent while on your website. So in other words, you use technology. It's called website visitor detection technology or website visitor identification technology. There are many providers. It's really fantastic technology. You want to be reviewing it on a daily basis. And this is the mistake that many marketers make. They don't review it on a daily basis. They might look at it every now and then when they remember, right? No one knows who's responsible for it, so no one looks at it. But you want to be looking at it every single day, and you want to follow up with those ICPs because you can see who's on the website. You can see the company. With certain technology, you can see the individual, who it is, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can see that they're your ICP, conduct personalized outreach to them based on what they're specifically interested in, based on what they're consuming on your website within the next business day. If you do that, it's going to transform your marketing results.
Yeah, definitely. That's super, super helpful, Tom. Thank you. So how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can go to the Stratabeat website, so stratabeat.com, and reach out there, or I'm on LinkedIn. So feel free to connect and mention that you heard this conversation. And then also, if you want, you can go to Amazon. You can pick up a copy of my book, Rethink Lead Generation. I'd say that those are the main ways.
Excellent. And I'll put that all in the show notes. But thank you so much, Tom. Always good to have you on here to share your expertise. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for tuning in to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. If today's episode sparked an idea or gave you something actionable, do me a favor, follow, rate, and review the show. It helps us grow and bring more expert strategies to marketers like you. I'm Kerry Curran, reminding you that real growth happens when marketing leads with purpose and revenue in mind. For more advice, go to revenuebasedmarketing.com. I hope to see you soon.